Welcome back. I gave you my predictions yesterday about what I think will happen in 2008. As you may recall, number two, I said, was that M&A would have a blockbuster year. Roger Aguinaldo is the CEO and publisher of the M&A Advisor. He joins me now to discuss whether or not I'm going to make some money or lose some money. Probably going to lose some money. Good morning, Roger.
I didn't know you placed bets on your predictions.
Exactly. Well, hey, I don't. I wish I could. No. Okay, let's talk about the health of the market. How was the deal market in 2007? I know we don't have all necessarily of the entire full year statistics, but 2007 versus past years, what did it look like?
2007 was a very healthy and strong year, especially in the first half. You had private equity with a lot of their money going into the deals. Second half wasn't as good for private equity, but then the corporate and strategic buyers really stepped in there and made 2007 at just as least as good, or to some numbers, a little bit better than 2006.
And as you take a look at the sectors and the biggest deals, what was really hot?
Energy, financials, and consumer discretionary. Very, very hot transactions going on there. Some of the much larger transactions was the Bank of America LaSalle deal. That was a divestiture from ABN AMRO. And then also the TXU with the private equity deals, one of the largest deals of the year.
As you look ahead into 2008, one of the reasons I said that we thought we'd potentially have a blockbuster year in deals is because when I participated in an event with you, we talked to a lot of people in the M&A business, and one of the things everybody talked about was the potential change in tax laws if perhaps a Democrat takes office. And some of those Bush taxes that President Bush really helped create private sector growth and opportunity. Could that help or hurt 2008?
Well, first of all, Alexis, I do want to thank you, and I didn't have an opportunity to thank you for helping us host our event, the M&A Advisor Awards, back in December. So thank you very much for doing that. And yes, at that program, we talked, well, one of our Lifetime Achievement Award winners of the year talked about the taxes and that we should be doing something as an industry to be making sure that those taxes don't increase. For 2008, you will, with the politics and all of that stuff, you will see a bump up in some of the deals that are happening because there may be a rise in the capital gains for private equity and for maybe some of the changes that perhaps if the Democrats get in. But you're going to see most of the M&A activity with the corporate and strategic buyers. That's really where you're going to see most of them come back into this marketplace, because private equity is not going to have the access to debt that they did in the past.
So does that mean, when you talk about it, put it in layman's terms, okay, let's break it down and get basic here, because a lot of people look at private equity, they think Blackstone. Now, when you say corporate deals, do you mean more cash deals, more big blockbuster mergers of the likes of a Bank of America merging with a Citigroup? What do you mean?
What I'm talking about is what corporations do all the time. These are companies, strategic buyers, Fox buying the Dow Jones. These deals happen every year, year in and year out. Bank of America has been doing transactions, M&A transactions, since the 50s, building their company up. They just, buying LaSalle Bank. These deals are going to happen even more than they have in the past in 2008, and mostly because they see pressure from private equity getting in and taking all of these companies away, and that pressure is off for these strategic buyers. So put it in layman's terms, it's all about growth. Alexis, it's growth in companies, and they grow through acquisition.
What about the issue of having cash? Do they have the money to make deals, number one? And number two, you look at this environment, and because valuations are so cheap, particularly in the financials and home builders, are they the ones that get gobbled up?
Well, that's a good point. That's right. I mean, some of the a lot of these mortgage companies that haven't done well, they may be gobbled up because they have been going through some hard times. But then not only do these companies have cash. Over the last 5 to 7 years, these corporations have been very streamlined and become very efficient, and they amass a lot of cash. So yes, number one, they can use cash. Number two, they can use their stock. Stock prices have maintained and gone up and done very well. And number three, and probably they can do much bigger deals, is they will have access to debt, more so than the private equity financial buyers. Because what are the banks in business to do? Banks are in business to lend, and they'll lend more so to companies in which they believe will have a better chance of making a successful acquisition and paying back the debt, and that's corporations. So you're going to see the banks coming more so to companies rather than private equity.
All right. Well, I hope you help me in my prediction so I don't look like, you know, I'm going to get like 1 out of those 10 predictions right. So
Well,
it's, it's all right. I'm conceding defeat probably.
I don't know about the New England Patriots prediction.
Yeah, you're
though.
upset about that one.
I think they'll go all the way.
All right, Roger. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, and we're gonna mark you on how these things are going quarter by quarter.
Okay. Thanks, Alexis.
All right. Thanks so much. We'll have much more on mergers and acquisitions ahead. Round 3 is next on the opening bell, and I'm gonna have all the guys weigh in. Is this a good year, a bad year in M&A? Which sectors are hot? We'll talk about that in just a moment.
I ain't asking for much. I said, Lord, take me downtown. I'm just looking for some touch.
Okay, it's time now for round 3. We just talked mergers and acquisitions. Give me, guys, what's your take? What do you think? I mean, he's basically saying the corporations have the cash, not the private equity guys, and it's going to be a decent year. What do you think?
It might be a decent year. Remember, I was the lone wolf who kind of disagreed with you on this, so I have to stick to my guns here today. You know, Freeman and Company came out with a survey saying that financial services is going to be a strong year for financial services again with all the sovereign wealth funds and what have you. That may very well be true, but again, I stick to the fact that in this lending environment, that off these comps of 2006 being a crazy year and the first half of 2007 also being a great year for M&A, that this year is likely to slow down a bit.
Ashley, what do you think, particularly in the overseas markets?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what's interesting is that the merger business was basically declared dead in the middle of summer, this past summer, because of the credit crisis. It has, even so, 2007 was still hit a record for the volume of mergers, and I think that's going to continue. For me, I think the emerging markets, you're going to see companies in Europe and in the US buying companies in emerging markets, not just China and India, but countries like Brazil and South Africa. I think that could be a trend to watch.
Robert, how about the U.S.? Donald Trump said you're buying the U.S. on the cheap.
Yeah, and don't forget, investment bankers get paid when these deals go through, so they'll be looking for some ways to get deals done this year. They may be on a smaller scale, they may be more strategic, companies buying companies, and that certainly seems to be the trend. And so we'll definitely be keeping an eye out, particularly, look in housing, financial services, when some of the weaker hands may be getting bought out there.
Aaron, what do you think?
I agree. I think the strategic buyer is going to be the story of 2008. A lot of the cross-border deals are going to be done. We're seeing Tata Motors buying Jaguar today. The mining sector, tremendous consolidation is going to continue there. And also the software space and video games are 2 other sectors where there's going to be a lot of deal making.
And what do you think about his philosophy about the corporate versus the private equity environment?
Absolutely. I mean, the private equity guys were betting on cheap debt. That is gone now, we know, because of the credit crunch. So the strategic buyers, other companies buying companies, that's going to be the big trend of this coming year.
All right, Aaron, thanks.